Without any objection, this meeting has been called to order. April 16th, 2026. We have a quorum, so we'll call it to order. No objections heard. Just to go over some housekeeping. This meeting is recorded. So thank you for joining us tonight. It is also recorded for archiving purposes. So if and when we get to the comment section for public, thank you to kind of raise your hand. I'm not sure if we can do that, but we'll see you and try to give you a moment to have a comment. All right. So thank you everybody for joining tonight. We have a lot. I think we need to kind of get in line and lay out. And so we want to give each member and ad hoc member to kind of set and clarify where I think we need to be. So we could, continue to push forward in reference to the agendas that we laid out so well in the 2025 annual report. I really want us to focus on those agendas and making it clear what we're looking for and how and what we want. So come our re-sit down with the Public Safety Commission, we could by then address all of what they asked and what we need as well to move this agenda forward for, especially for 2027 and on a state level. So thank you again for everyone. So third item on the agenda is to review and approve March 16th meeting minutes. Is there
I
a
move.
motion?
I motion that they be approved.
So move.
Second.
We have a second. Any conversations before we take it to a vote? None heard. All those in agreement with approving March 19th meeting minutes, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Next is to approve tonight's agenda, April 16th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Do you have a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Any comment before we take it to a vote? Thank you, Ron, for joining us tonight. None heard. All those in favor with approving tonight's agenda, April 16th, raise your hand or say aye.
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 The ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved. Member Wright, just for audio purposes, can we just make sure we can hear you? Just check in right quick, make sure your audio mic is working. Can you hear us? Okay.
He's still muted. You have to unmute Ron.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
There you, all right, just want to
Okay.
make sure we can hear you. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Member Wright.
Absolutely.
Good hearing you.
Likewise.
All right. Next on the agenda is any requests from the board of the administrative team. Any requests that the board has for the administration team? Anything you're looking for, need? I have a request officially. I believe, if I recall, I don't think I can find it, but I'll look for an old email in reference to a template that we had drawn up for members who were interested in resubmitting their interest in continuing on the board because of their term limits. I thought we had a template that was created, and we just kind of read it, signed a name to whoever that member was, and we submitted to the BCC. I know eventually we'll start getting those emails from them about certain term limits. of members. So my request, because I don't think I made it yet live, is if the admin team can see if they could find if that template exists that we created. Laura. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, do we have anybody on the board that is nearing the end of their term? I was reconfirmed some time ago. Do we have anybody?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. Yes,
I didn't know.
yes, ma'am. So that's, oh, no, let me see, I don't think, are there any other requests? I don't want anybody, all right, feel slighted or anything. Okay. All right, next is, on the action item is any ad hoc group reports. The ad hoc groups and board recommendations and annual report, preparing letters, requesting specific information from LEAs and ACC is number 5. So we can start there because I think we got a lot there that we can cover, which probably would roll over into some of old business, I think. But let's just start there. I don't know if everyone has the agenda out in front of them or not. Hopefully you can look it up and you can follow along, but let's start there. Any ad hoc group reports or updates? Who wants to go first with anything in reference? Again, one of the main targets that I think we really want to stick with is the recommendations in our 2025 annual report. If there's no comment with anyone, one of the things that I believe that is major is I think we had mostly everybody present tonight, except maybe Kellner. And am I missing anyone else? Greg. And Greg. Yes, thank you. So we're missing 2. What I think is important now is on these recommendations, we need to make sure we pair off in good teams, ad hoc groups, for the 25 report, the recommendations. I think we had about 9, was it 9 recommendations in the annual report? So,
That's what I was looking for.
yeah, we had about 9 recommendations.
And I believe Chair Chris and Rhonda were on an active ad hoc on trial board.
Right. Is that, do you recall that, Chris, you and Ron working together on
Yeah,
active
that's right,
on the trial board?
presented anything yet, but we can, yeah.
Okay. If you can still take the head of that, we'll share some information. I think that is like a good start.
Could I ask
Absolutely.
a question of clarification? And I haven't seen it, and perhaps I've just missed it. Is there a list of the ad hoc groups and the membership? Because I have not seen
We're
it.
starting it now.
That's what I'm,
Right.
I'm trying to catch up.
No,
Very good.
no, that's what we're doing tonight. We had the first, our first meeting this
Okay.
year. You know, everyone was unable to attend, and
Yep.
then the next meeting was the first quarterly meeting with the MCPD, and so here we are now.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
I withdraw the question.
no, good question though. So here we are now. All right, so we do know, all right, that's the responses. I wanna go to, and so we can break this down a little bit more here.
Um,
All right.
Mr. Chair, Bishop,
Yes, I'm sorry.
I was just
Please.
wondering, can we refresh for the public that's listening what our actual recommendations were in the annual report regarding the AHGs? Ad hoc?
Copy that. Copy
If we
that.
can- Yeah, if we can read that. I don't have the.
No,
annual-
I'm making sure I have all of them in front of me because I did something separate that I was working on. And I want to make sure that I read them all. and then we can,
I just pulled them up here.
I better have them. Shouldn't be.
Sure you do.
All right. Okay, so, we went to, yeah, so, and I think, remember Hudson, you were talking about trying to just maybe read some of the main bullet points of those recommendations, right? I know,
Right, regarding the ad hoc groups, yeah.
So I know one of the things that we have here, or several, is improvements to implementation of the MPAA.
Right.
If I am with that right, I believe Vice Chair and I are working as an ad hoc group on that. That's 6.1, point one for everyone
May-
following.
May I request to assist in that?
You don't even have to request, because I was about to ask if you would like to assist us on that. That's why I looked up at you. I don't know if you can see me on camera, but I looked up at you to ask if you would assist with that, please. Okay, so we're on the same page.
Yes.
All right, so 6.1.1, myself, Vice Chair, and Hudson. We're going to tackle that. I wanted to ask, in my head, I had to ask Vice Chair, Vice, did that include what the complaint forms would look like, or is that something?
No, I think that's a separate item within
Yeah.
that recommendation.
Yeah.
So up to you if we want to. I think it would be best to, we can incorporate that.
But
as-
we delegate, I think we should need to delegate that too.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, in 6.1.2 of our recommendations, the standardized complaint forms and collections of demographic data across the LEAs. Did I get you, Chuck? I see the look, all right. Chuck and
I know also member McCray had worked on that
looked over
for
it,
some
yeah.
time, so.
Yeah,
I know he was not here, I don't wanna volunteer him
Well, I can
necessarily,
ask.
but
we can.
I know he was a part of that effort.
Yeah, so let's just say,
We'll just tell them somebody volunteered you.
Yeah,
yeah,
We won't say that it was George, but.
yeah.
it's on the record.
Yeah, it's on the record. All right, so we'll do that. You and Greg,
Okay.
all right, that's 6.1.2. And then we were talking about 6.1.3, the expand staff capacity of support research, policy analysis, and data management. Again, I know that that type of research and management, if I am, which includes budget and things like that, kind of falls into member
Nick,
Son's
I'll
hand.
be more than happy to do that.
All right. You know, some of us may have to be on more than one thing, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Chris, would you volunteer to work with Rich on that?
That works for me, yeah.
Okay. And
Ron,
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think,
Yeah.
Rich,
I mean, Rick,
yeah, Chris, yeah, Chris Harte,
yep.
yeah. So we put him and you on that. 6.2. Which is improvements on police accountability. I think, Ron, I know you're really good at, in reference to that, Ron, police accountability, use of force, and things like that. Chuck, I said Ron, I meant to say Chuck.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I said the wrong name, that's why you didn't learn, so. Chuck, on 6.2,
Yes.
the improvements of police accountability,
Okay.
which does include, conduct, use of force,
Mm.
and interventions and things like that. I would like to ask if member Hudson would work with you on that. Is that
Good.
good?
Okay,
Okay. So we had Chuck. Hudson. That's 6.2. All right. I have a question. Member Hudson, do you see 6.2.1? Do you see that kind of rolling over?
I don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
You don't have it, Chuck, do you have it in front of
I
you?
do.
Do you see
2.1,
2.1
strengthen policy awareness
Yeah,
and
rolling
annual
over into that.
compliance training.
Cause I know, Member Hudson at one time did a, research and write-up on training and things like that. Is that correct, Member Hudson?
I can see that rolling into it.
For the PAC or, I've done several things, but we did have a training ad hoc group. We did, Greg and I, we were doing hiring and training, and we had done some preparation regarding that. I am attending the summit if that is in any way relevant.
Well, it's, yeah, because this is just talking about, again, in 6.2.1, the awareness of the compliance and training and mandatory policy and refreshers and training and scenarios and incidents, applications and knowledge and I think it rolls over really nicely through
Yeah.
improvements to the police accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you all add, Greg on that with you on that one, because he
Yeah.
was involved in that as well.
Okay,
So can we just roll that 6.2 and 6.2.1
Yeah.
to you, Hudson, and
Sure.
got it.
okay, so we just roll that over.
And MPSTC is having their training this summer, I believe, right? We were invited to attend their training. Am I correct? The Maryland Police Standards and Training Commission?
I think that training that you're speaking of, if I'm tracking you correctly, is Baltimore is having a PAB training this month.
Right.
Nice.
MPSTC, I think, also had invited us to attend. We were going to have to take off. Am I right? Is anyone else recalling that?
I don't recall it, but I'm putting
that
it with the
one,
question mark.
We can ask the staff if she recalls. I don't recall that, I'm sorry.
The only training that I'm aware of for upcoming is for the new HCC and PAB members.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
I don't know how much we can cover of everything tonight. I think most of us, we probably can. I think a lot of this, and for instance, the 6.2.2, in reference to the agencies ensuring the officers maintain the knowledge of policies. I think our recommendations there were in reference to expanding the use of force training. I think that still rolls over to what y'all doing with 6.2.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think the whole section is about
I think the whole
sort of the
section.
same thing, so
Yeah.
I think we can organize it either by section and start that way.
Yeah,
Kind of like what we're doing now, and then as, the groups put, some work in and some time in, it can just continue to evolve as we
okay,
get through the
Mhm.
topics at hand.
okay, I agree.
Yeah, I would say all of 6.2,
Right.
Yeah, all the 6.
roll all of that up in.
Rolls over into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Bishop, were you referencing the recommendation iterations, the language I included in our report? Is that what you were referring to regarding the training?
Yes,
Oh, yes. Yes,
yes,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
okay, all right, so all 6.2, I think rolls over into it.
Okay.
All All right, and then we can, only thing I'm being careful of, because right now you all are three, and we can't have four because that
Right.
creates four. So if you three can start it,
Okay,
and
Right.
then if you have sub stuff from that, we can put it out to the board. And then we'll take sub stuff and do it as an extension from the ad hoc committee to make sure that we don't have an issue.
okay,
Then you all get together.
that's fine.
And we're going to publish the names of the people on the various groups so that it goes out to everybody, right?
Yes, that's, Laura always does, takes good notes on that, so. She's probably already ahead of me on that, so. All right. I guess that's still 6.3 is just the recommendation of the summary.
Mhm.
All right. Vice Chair, did I miss anything with the rest of them? No, let me see, 7.
No, I think that the following is just the appendix and all that data, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all, right? Okay. All right. Please exclude the old school with the papers instead of the laptop, but comes out every now and then. Okay. All right, so we have pretty much that ad hoc group together with that. We'll work on things. So if you all could, if the administration staff, Laura, if as soon as you can, you get out those names that are with those recommendations. And then what I would ask the ad hoc groups to do is when you all are messaging via email,
Mhm.
if you could just CC me and vice chair.
Okay,
And that's just for dexterity to have a follow-up, so if, we don't want the chair and vice chairs to be in the dark. So if one of us is not here, the other still knows because we're CC'd on any of your communications. This is not a overwatch or micromanagement, it's just for, keep us all on one as a board. Hope you all understand that.
Sure.
I call it Star Trek management.
All right, now. We have, and I think we'll start on how, if vice chairs at our group, he's really been kind of, really putting a lot of energy into this, because he really drafted, a lot of this report and numbers and graphs and everything. So Vice Chair, if you want to take it from here in reference to part B of Action 5, where we're talking about letter requesting.
Yeah, sure thing.
So.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so just as a report out to the full board, been working closely with Chair and his guidance on taking Chief Yamada's word at face value and his request for us to send him information that we think we would need. From our report, part of that recommendation was also to consider right, like the complaints that the LEAs are receiving, and we've talked about the extent to which the PAB has to forward those complaints that we receive, but we don't have that same privilege on the other side, which makes it a little bit more challenging for the data analysis. We have some directional insights, and I think personally that we have enough to make strong recommendations, but of course we need more and we can use more, and I think more information is better, more transparency is better. And so we are also fortunate to have our special counsel, Shelley, who will spearhead the communications in that regard. And we are sending over some of that towards Chief Yamada and again the rest of the LEAs. Something you want me to read through?
You don't have to, I just wanted you to know that was a draft sent by a special counsel.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I think, so I wanted you to kind of see that in your.
Yeah, thank you. We had some discussions, obviously, as we've sort of started down this path. We've communicated it across with our special counsel, and also wanted to, like I said, just I'm seeing this for the first time, the communication that we're sending out, but it's essentially the reasoning for why the PAB is requesting this. Again, Chief Yamada, I think, was very welcoming in his remarks to ask of us what we needed. So we're doing just that. Hopefully, we can find a place where this is all agreeable, and again, we can advance the goal of the PAB as it relates to the community, transparency and accountability, and with the help of our law enforcement agency partners. So that's a little bit of what we're doing here on the first point, the chair's intro on those improvements to the information that we're gathering. And I think to a certain extent, the same will be asked of the ACC. Again, some of that information of natures of interactions, no identifying information. And so that's the path that we're working towards, also at the behest of our members of the county council who've asked for a little bit more traction in that regard.
Yes, sir. Vice Chair, I'll let you read that first and then ask. Do we want, 'cause I know we need this approved and the members looking at this specific letter immediately going out right now. It's a little more work involved with what we want to send to the ACC than what we're sending to the LEAs. Specifically first, because he, again, as Vice Chair said, Chief Yamada was welcoming to the idea of us asking him what we needed. So we kind of started with, of course, MCPD first, but it's going across the board to the rest of the LEAs. But of course, it has to be an approved agreement with the entire board of what that letter looks like. A special counsel has drawn up a draft right now. I don't know if we need to read that or just need to first send it up because the whole board hasn't had a chance to see that yet. And I think it would be out of place to read that now without the whole board being able to look at it first. Correct me if I'm out of line on that, Mr. Parliamentarian and Vice Chair, to look at it first, put a note or two on it individually and come back as a group and then have it.
Yeah, I think as a board, we, if I'm not mistaken, as a board, we agreed that there was some from our last meeting communication to send out to the LEAs. So that's what we're doing here. So the substance of that communication, I think we can all review, but the board's decision was to submit, something in writing to the LEAs. I think that in that regard, I think we're good. Feel free, of course, we can socialize this internally for everyone to see what exactly the wording of the letter. But again, it's really towards the nature of that last meeting on what exactly we think we could use, specifically, data on complaints that the LEAs are receiving.
And I think that really this is ready to move forward once everyone gets their eye on it, because in my opinion, it's really straight to the point, which is what we need to be. Straight and to the point, again, because there was a door that was opened, by the chief asking us to re-ask, because we've asked before, but to re-ask. So here it is. Vice Chair, excuse me.
I was just gonna comment, that I would request you not publish this at this time until all of the members see it, because it's attorney-client privilege until you all have okayed the letter, and then it's published. Okay.
Thank you. So as our special counsel just indicated, that we will, special counsel, I know Vice Chair and I
haven't sent it to the whole board, I just sent it to you.
Yeah.
So, but I can, if that's one, I didn't know whether you all wanted to look at it and then send out something else, but I can send it to everyone.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. And then once everyone has a chance to read it, then we'll send it up to the administrative staff with the request of sending it out and or is this something that can cross? Is it something that can, what's the word I'm looking for, to all the LEAs? Is it something that
Broadcast it or to just communicate it, so I mean?
would, because
We can discuss that because this is specific.
this is specific, that's what I was
It's
asking.
not-
Okay, this is
It's
specific.
not it's not a
Copy that.
form letter.
Okay, roger that. All right, so you all should be looking out, for this request letter.
Okay.
Via your county emails. Please, as soon as you get it, just, make sure that you look over it and understand the context is we're honoring the request to make a request. So, all right, all right. Is that it, Vice Chair?
Yeah.
If I may ask on that, so it says there information from the LEAs and ACC.
Right.
So that's gonna be incorporated in there as well.
And these are gonna be separate communications,
communications,
right?
okay.
So, I think the first will be the one that we're referring as it relates to the LEAs to,
Okay,
Chief Jamada's, ask.
okay, thank you.
The ACC part, I was going to try to talk
That's
a little
fine.
bit about now.
That's fine.
Which, I have to ask the parliamentarian. Can I incorporate that with action item number 6 as well, the chair's report?
Yeah, I think we can flow into it, yeah.
Okay, all right. So as the vice chair on the good question from, member Williams, is that these are two separate actions. The first letter we were talking about is going into the MCPD chief at his request. We're honoring that. And the ACC letter is a separate action that we're just going to go specifically from the PAB to the ACCA. I would say this would actually be a follow-up inquiry because we had an initial letter to the ACC in reference to information sharing.
Mhm.
And that had its own result. Now we're going to revisit it with this letter. And so, and the PAB, we're really trying to do and make clear is that the PAB is not asking for physical possessions of any documents. And this is based on I think it was the March 16th meeting that we had with the Public Safety Commission. And so had made some notes about the preliminary matter of how what we're saying is the PAB does not need to take physical possession of any materials made available by the ACC. I was thinking about how we would work if the ACC could create some type of, I don't know, like a website or some type of page which PAB members could view some of these documents without taking physical possession of them. I was trying to see how, I think we had discussed this once before, earlier last year, about not wanting to put ourselves in a position where the public can request a,
Correct.
Yes.
Make a FOIA request, right?
yes,
Exactly.
because from us, because they think
Right.
we're in possession. So I'm trying to see how we can continue to, what we're asking for, but make it clear we're not asking to take possession of it, but we
Right.
should have access to it,
Access.
right?
Viewability, yes. Viewability.
Um. And I think with that, again, that will address the concerns of the MPIA, issue. Because it would still be the ACC, that would go to the ACC and not
Exactly.
the PAB if anybody wants to request any of that. I guess we were working on this, Vice Chair, myself, and Special Counsel, that if you all had a chance, I don't know if you had a chance to review the 16th of March meeting. It was rushed through because it was a hurricane and it was a tornado and that day, and everyone was like, go home, get out, and everyone made it safely. We kind of rushed through it. And there were some things we really didn't have time to kind of drive home because we were literally watching, the Storm Channel, and people were giving reports and everything. But to address one of the council persons' issue about the custodial part of it, if we could just communicate somehow to the ACC, we're not asking for physical, we're not asking for
Custody.
custody and private information, but we need,
Access.
to what they concluded uh, I don't want to say deposition because that's not the right term. Lawyer.
Disposition,
Yeah, when they conclude their,
rationale,
yes, the reason, how they came to that,
yeah, rationale.
I think, I was thinking about that. The framework of the county statute is saying that the ACC, if I read it right, the county and state kind of expected the ACC to be sharing information with the PAB anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Member Hudson, did you? Yeah, okay. Did you say something, Alicia?
Yes, and my understanding was that they were meant, and based on research I've done, that the entities were meant to operate in tandem. They're supposed to operate together. These are both civilian boards or civilian staffed or civilian servicing the community. So they are civilian oversight of policing, and they work together, not co-working, but there is supposed to be sharing of information. And when the MPSTC person came and spoke with us, he alluded to that. He said, "Yeah, I imagine," and also the Attorney General alluded to that and said, "Yeah, I imagine that the PAB is going to need to receive information as requested from the ACC and have some kind of access to case files. There needs to be a fluidity of flow of information."
And I think I believe as a PAB, what we want to do this in our revisiting this with the ACC is address it in a way that is not confrontational.
Right. We're on the
But,
same side.
right, we're on the same side. We're not two as Member Hudson just said, and Vice Chair and I had been saying for quite some time in our meetings, that this is not an us against ACC or ACC against PAB. This is, and I believe that the state and county statutes kind of speaks clearly that that's the whole idea of the relationship
Right.
Yes.
between two entities, is to be able to work together for the same common goal, which is, transparency and equitable and information, both on the same side. And the PAB is, as it says in its writing, that we are to work with the LEAs. And I think we're addressing that in the letter that was just written clearly at the request, re-request, I should say, at our re-implementation and the actual acceptance from MCP to do so.
Mhm.
With the ACC, I think as we really need to drive the point home that we work together, we have the same goal. And the information basically, and please jump right in, everyone. I was under the impression, just from what we've been doing and how it reads, that basically, when we get complaints through the portal, through the PAD portal, we see everything anyway.
Right.
So what comes directly to the LEAs, I don't see how there's any difference having that same information if we're getting it through the portal. Anyway, and I'm thinking if we can have a yes to, okay, LEAs, when we're asking, give us that, then that will follow up with, okay, well, the conclusion of whatever your internal investigation was and whatever the conclusion of the review of the ACC is, it's still in the same,
Right,
Yeah,
right, the
Makes
same
sense.
gamut.
makes sense.
We should have that.
right.
And I think by kind of sharing it in a way with the ACC that's not confrontational, but in a common sense.
And I would say this is not unique either. I believe, right, that we've seen some of the research from our staff that PG County operates in some form,
Yeah.
right, where there is not, right, not a full disclosure of information, but there is a way in which information is being passed along to, smaller groups for the PAB as a board to reconvene with some of that information. So again, it's not a unique, I think, request. And yeah, I think it speaks to the shared mission, right, of the PAB and the ACC, and in many ways, LEAs all across the state.
I think,
I'm sorry, I wanted, before you,
Go ahead.
I've got to jump, but I don't want those that are online to feel like they're forgotten.
Okay.
Ron, I do see your hand,
I didn't see that.
and then Ron.
I think Member Hudson had her hand up first, so do
Okay,
you want
I
to
can
go, Hudson?
wait till after you go.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
wait for you. I'll wait
Well,
for you.
no, my question is very simple. Is there not either an express or implied confidentiality agreement amongst all members of the PAB, the ACC, and the police department, LEAs? Because if there is, then, either there's a civil penalty or there's a criminal penalty if folks should violate. I mean, we're all professionals. So if there is an agreement or there understanding implied in the statute, then surely we should be expected to maintain that privacy and confidentiality. So it should allay the fear of ACC of any inadvertent distribution or intentional distribution of information.
no, you're absolutely right. There is, all of the PAB members are held under the confidentiality.
Well,
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And I mean, so that's number one, as well as the ACC members are held under that same confidentiality clause. And if, I mean, I would almost see if it would be too far over the edge to even suggest that if we need to have both councils kind of home in and be more specific in an area that will bring a little more comfort to the ACC about confidentiality. Because basically that's all this is, and we're on the same team, it's the same information.
right.
But yes, Member Hudson,
Yeah, I was just going to say on that same thread, just as we have to take the required cybersecurity training every month, if they feel comfortable having us sign something every time we're about to see or review or have viewability of case files or decisions or whatever, then I think that that's something that should be doable. But beyond that, I was going to mention that, we're envisioning also making recommendations for amendments to the MPAA, not the Maryland General Assembly, not the state law, but in essence, as long as we are not more restrictive, there's nothing that says we can't be more expansive in the implementation of the MPAA. So, my understanding was that we were going to submit recommendations to the county council regarding, actually putting in language that says, yes, this is a given. The ACC is to give or provide access to, provide access to kit file information as requested by the PAB, simply for purposes of viewability. And again, that's a very rough way of saying that all of this is up for draft, drafting these recommendations. But the MPA is not perfect law. the way it was written, it's only been off and running for about, I guess, 6 years now. So I'm sure they envision recommendations coming at some point or amendments. And I think that we've run into where we may need to look at that, amending the MPAA such that it is already in place, that it is a given. This is what the ACC is to do. This is how the ACC and PAB are to work. So
Yeah, I think you had
does
something
that
to
make
do,
sense?
Vance.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, basically what I was going to say along those lines, I've yet to have interface with the ACC. So I've just sort of put myself in their shoes and I'm sensing, and I could be wrong, but I'm sensing that it's a matter of not wanting to be second guessed. And if that is the case, then I think we need to let them know that we're not trying to second guess whatever decisions they came to, but we need the data so that we can do what we need to do in terms of identifying trends.
Correct.
Yeah, just to add a little bit on that too, Alicia, I think you're totally right, and we've made some of those recommendations in our last Public Safety Commission meeting or committee meeting, where we presented information where again, like other counties are also doing different things, some enabled by county law, and so in that regard. I, for one, believe that there is more that we can do as it relates to that, alongside improvements made to the MPAA at the state level. And then the other thing I would say is that, yes, I would agree with you, Chuck. I think it's worth emphasizing that we are not, and we have not been, the chair has made this very clear as well. We're not in the business of retrying the ACC's decisions. We are requesting more information to provide, better assessments of what's going on to the public and the LEAs who are working partners of ours in this regard. So I think we're all on the same page with that. And there's some discussion, I think from our last meeting about whether that should be county-led, state-led, and I think that that's some of what we will probably come together again in June at the request of the members of the council to talk about that. So I think we're heading in the right direction. I think again the leadership of our chair here in terms of providing sort of the working groups to get to that same goal. I think that that's what's going to get us there. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
So it's probably a technical legal question, so I ask counsel to help us here. We talk about not wanting to take possession of the documents that we receive, but we want to be able to view them and therefore extract knowledge, let's say. And there may in fact be notes taken. Otherwise, knowledge has a very short half-life. And if we were to take notes based on what we're reading, those notes, I believe, are still captured by FOIA.
No, that's hearsay, because that's hearsay. Your own notes that's hearsay. That doesn't have any value.
It is hearsay, but I would agree that it's hearsay, but it's part of the record of the PAB.
Well,
So it could be,
yeah,
it's just like we talked about when we were just giving an analogy of doing emails back when there was a challenge with the emails.
right.
Emails could be requested, and if you're doing any work, just like agendas, all the work, your paperwork, if you take that, right, it possibly could.
So if I took notes and wanted to describe to the board what I learned from reviewing this,
That's
it
it,
seems to
I
me
need to
that's
think
a
about it,
FOIA.
because let me think about that for,
okay.
get back to you, but my first thought is that it possibly could be a request, it could be an issue.
And there's one thing I would say to that, and I know the chair is having we'll have something to say about this too, but I think this is why it's important that we make very specific, what is the type of information that we're looking for. Again, and it's not necessarily a retry of everything that they've received. what is the information that we need, that we think is missing? And some of that was information that we have had in the past. We've
Correct.
experienced a change. And so I think in that regard, like that, there is precedence, again, not only for us in Montgomery County and the ACC, but other counties where some of that information is used. And so I think that that's where I would again emphasize our efforts is making sure that we are very explicit and specific about what kind of information where will we be requested.
Yeah, because again, and Vice Chair said it, as I said before, I think in reference to the ACC, specifics and common sense while presenting the collaborative atmosphere is really going to move us a lot better. Sometimes I have to be somewhat broad in how I speak in reference to the ACC because being a member,
Of course.
of the ACC, and most of that is again confidentiality conversations that happens outside of the general public meeting. But specifically in what we want to do, because I don't think it's unreasonable, and it's to me reasonably understood that we could have some type of maybe communication link that allows us to be able to view without taking possession of, again, specifically and say, hey, we're not looking at one of your notes, but we do want to know that if you adjudicated a specific case that you reviewed and this was your determination, obviously there's some type of, I don't know if you call it an alpine or not, that you've written of why you determined that.
Right.
We
Right.
would want to know that as a
Right.
PAB. How did you, what was it? Is there a sentence, is there a paragraph, is there
Right.
something that you wrote that explains why? Because when it goes up, and it's always, which is why we're working on the trial board information about what we get from the trial board, because if it's something that an officer or officers, what is it when they don't accept it? What's it called
They
again?
dismissed it. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
when the officer says, I wanna
Appeal?
appeal, thank you. When the officer, right, so whenever they're sending something up to the trial board, or to, I would say, the county attorney, they're looking for an explanation of how did you
Up to
conclude,
that, right.
right? That's what we want,
Yeah.
because that information helps us look at certain knowledge, analysis of, okay, well, we're seeing a lot of this based on these outcomes of ACC
Right.
cases,
Agreed.
right?
Exactly.
So we're not asking for identifiable information inside of your, what you shared with us. I mean, as a matter of fact, again, as I said earlier, because basically, when the complaint comes through the PAB, order, we get the information anyway.
Right.
Officers' names,
Sure.
the citizens' names, and we get it anyway through the
Right.
portal.
Right.
So, but we're held to confidentiality. But if we're talking about on the end, and again, jump in and correct me if you think I'm too far to one side or the other. But what we're asking as a PAB to the ACC is, okay, you've concluded this. We want to see how did you determine this? What was your outline, how you determine this?
Right.
And we don't need the officer's name, the citizen's name. But we do need which LEA this officer represents.
Right.
So if we can code it, if you can code it somewhere, because redactions is not helpful, because redactions is up to the person who's redacting interpretation of what needs to be redacted.
Precisely.
Right.
So
I have a question if I could. When you say
Well-
how you, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to comment before can I just chime in real quick?
please.
In regards to Richard's comment, when we were receiving the decisions, because some time ago we were receiving the language regarding decisions and which included the reasoning for why the ACC arrived at its decision. And we found it very helpful. It was informing our work. I, for one, never took notes. I never took notes, but it was helping me to understand what the process was. And then also we received help from our executive director he shared with us the actual code language regarding the MPSTC, the applicable training rule that attached to this decision. So those are the pieces that I looked at. I never took notes. I don't think that it's anything that would what's the word be what's the word be necessarily be captured by notes. That's not necessary for us to do our work. What I understood was this
And I
is
think and I understood the
yeah
question.
yeah
I don't think that, in my opinion, based on what we've been doing and where we want to go,
yeah
that we're concerned about, and I'm careful with this again because of being a member, that we're concerned about notes as much as we are concerned about the how did they arrive, why did they
at
arrive
the
to us,
decision, right
right? And they write this, hey, this is
right
why, this is what this is.
Councilman.
I think
Hold
we
on, let
should,
me, I'll be the one to call.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm the one that calls.
I'm sorry.
So point of order,
I didn't want to interrupt. Sure.
point of order, the
Yes,
chair calls.
yes, sir.
Well, Ward, don't tell the chair who to call. So let's,
Okay.
let's put that out there and keep it out there. All right, so, so I. And I want to share this in a way that doesn't disclose any confidentiality stuff. But that's what I think we really need to stick to that. That we're not asking for identifications, we're not asking for badge numbers, and we're not asking for names, addresses. But we do want to know that if this specific LEA and is having a consistent issue with conformance to law.
Mhm.
We want to know that based on how the ACC concluded their research and came up with their decision. Council?
actually, Alicia answered my question, so.
Oh, okay. Good
With what
stuff.
she said, she answered my question.
All right, so, so we want to be specific in that, and I think we really drove that home. The other note, because I don't think it's, we're asking for, I think, again, what we really get already anyway. We're moving forward with the LEA, now we're talking about ACC, a complete, I don't think we need summary, because a summary to me is interpretive to how a person feels.
Exactly,
What's important and what should be left out. I
right.
don't know if I'm right in thinking that way, but
Yeah.
that's how I feel when you talk about a summary. I
Mhm.
don't want a summary, I
Right.
want
Right.
as much as we can get without breaking any confidentiality issues. Is how we need to present this request, this follow-up request to the ACC.
Yeah.
To give them comfortability and to make it clear, I think everyone has said this before, that we're not asking to retry, that's the wrong term. We're not asking to re-review what they've already reviewed. Right? Because, again, I don't know if I'm beating a dead horse, I don't want to beat it too much, question. Because this is has a possibility of coming up. And I'm asking Vice first, as we're working on this together. When we say information, would that not only include the outcome and how and the outline of how they came to that outcome, but with the information we're asking for from the LEA and or ACC, would that include, or are we asking for recordings and BWCs?
I would not think so, no, I think, so, we, again, I think from our past also requests is that we are looking for information that that was typically provided as it relates to the nature of the encounters. We don't need the investigative files. I think we need what you just pointed out, which is what is it that the ACC reviewed? What are the decisions, how did they arrive at that decision? And, you know, we don't need to, by consequence, review the body worn camera footage that they reviewed to see if there are differences. I mean, that's my opinion. I think we need just more of the decision-making process that the ACC had on a particular case and try to incorporate that into some of the trends that we're seeing at the LEAs.
Yeah. If I can piggyback on that, because I think that based on some of the things I looked at, also the nature of the complaint. If we can understand the whole genesis of what started this in the first place, what was the complainant's narrative of what they put out there, so that we can identify, are there some things in there, some data in there that we need to track as possible trends.
Yeah, and if I may, Chair, part of it is also, I think, a logistical consideration. Like, obviously, cases are increasing. I believe the ACC, right, the PAB has seen the increase in the outcomes on the decisions in the complaint cases themselves. And so I think we also have to think about logistically being able to ask for something that we can put to use practically and, you know, not be overwhelmed by. And I think that again is something that I believe the PG County has instituted in a way that seems effective. So that's something that we can take a further look into. But again, just trying to provide a little bit more insight into at least my opinion on the matter as well.
I definitely agree. But I just wanted to ask, put it on the table for the board. I don't think we need to concern ourselves with recordings and BWCs, and that's not with that type of request could present a false picture that we're trying to
Second
guess. Yeah. So, and that's nowhere near what we want. We want enough to be able to do what we've been mandated to do as a PAB one, which is communicate and work together with the ACC and the LEAs, and to come up with this broader view of trends based on the analysis and information that we have enough of. Because I mean, I think it's important. I think that is, and again, I keep tying it back to it, and so far no one's objected, so I must be tracking it. Okay. We get the information anyway from when it comes in. The LEA, more specifically, the chief said, ask him. So, hey, chief, give us, you know, and again, we can make it clear with the chief, we're not asking for officer's name, address, and all of that, even though we get it anyway on the PAB portal. But what we don't get that comes directly to you, we're asking for that. And we all under confidentiality. And then I think once that dynamic and that connector line is in play, I think it'd be easier to even make that common sense request to the ACC. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alicia?
Yeah, and not to put too fine a point on it, but we used to receive information that we no longer receive, which was very helpful to informing our work. We used to receive the iterations and the opinions, and as well as the what the content in the complaint was. We used to receive those things.
Yep.
It was very helpful. We no longer get that.
All right. So I guess we're all in agreement then that in reference to the ACC, what we want to try to, and I think Vice Chair and I can walk away with the general consensus when we go back to our ad hoc meeting, that the board is expecting us, this ad hoc group, working with, now Alicia is in it. So Alicia, Vice Chair, and of course, our special counsel has been really guiding us in this. The board is expecting us to come back with these requests that are common sense specific of I don't know what else to put it, but common sense requests of why we need this information, specifically telling them what we don't need, I think is as important of telling them what we do
What we
need.
do need.
And because we don't need what we're not getting. We don't need to body cams. We don't need dashboard cam. We don't need interrogation cams. We don't need interrogations of citizens and follow. We don't need any of that. All we're asking for is the ACC's the reason why their outcome to whatever this administrative is or isn't charged, exonerated or unfounded or whatever it is, or or sustained. All we want to know. That's all we want to know. And again, reminding them of the confidentiality that we all are under. And again, I know that, and I believe that the state and county statute says specifically that, and I think, Vice Chair, in my opinion, based on the 16th of March meeting anyway, that Public Safety Committee, in my opinion, kind of made it clear that that's what they were expecting and thought should be happening anyway, that the ACC should be sharing with us. And then Mr. Silver gave some examples of where it's already happening at, which is Baltimore and I think Anne Arundel, if I'm not mistaken. And so we can move forward with this. And I'll close with this, not the meeting, but and give someone else a chance, is because there was concern that was made public in the first quarterly meeting that we need to make sure that not only clarify that it is inaccurate, but speak the power of the truth, which is it's inaccurate that the PAB is after anyone.
Right.
We're not after LEAs. We individually have the heart to do what we've been mandated to do, which was to work with and also to present this transparent context to the community while serving the community and both. And so it takes two. And in this case, we're doing our due diligence by reaching out to the LEA saying, okay, we heard you the 19th, March 19th. Here's our response to what we hear and our response to your invitation. And hey, ACC, here's our request to help us as a body, because again, the PAB really recommends 2 members to the ACC anyway. So not that they answer to the PAB, but
Right.
yet, to me, that speaks to the fundamental principle that the PAB and the ACC works together. Because if not, why is the PAB mandated to be able to confirm someone to the?
Exactly.
That's just my opinion on that. Okay. All right, so we talked too much about that. We did not get to the staff report. So, I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but staff report.
Okay. This is gonna be the March 2026 complaint report. We received 5 complaints through the portal. 3 were defined as eligible from the Montgomery County Department of Police and are currently under investigation. 1 was defined as eligible by the Rockville City Police Department and is currently under investigation. 1 is defined as eligible by Gatesburg Police Department and is currently under investigation. Complaints received through other methods, there were 7. 5 were received by Montgomery County Department of Police. 4 are eligible, 1 is ineligible. 2 were defined as eligible by Rockville City Police Department and are currently under investigation. That concludes the complaint report. This will be on the website. For the rest of the staff report, March 2026 Special Counsel Operating Budget. The ACC, or Administrative Charging Committee, has expended $11,500 for a total of $70,631.25 to date for the fiscal year. $39,368.75 remains to cover the expenses to the end of the fiscal year. As for the Police Accountability Board, $3,712.50 is a total for March, with $26,284.50 for the whole fiscal year. $13,715.50 remains to cover expenses through the end of the fiscal year. Just a note, fiscal year is from July 25th and it ends on June 30th, 2026. July 1st, 2025, sorry. Okay, on to the reminders. You all discussed the Baltimore PAB Summit. If you have not filled out the attendance or registration form, please do so and confirm your attendance with the staff. The Montgomery County PAB will have a new website effective April 20th, 2026. Due to the April 24th, 2024 Department of Justice ADA web accessibility, we will have to put transcripts to the YouTube. Therefore, that will take more time, so there will be a delay. I'm estimating about 3 business days. That's based on the work and my availability of time. The 2025 annual report translation and web accessibility. We shared this information with all board members. This will be posted on the website upon your approval. Your approval will need to take a motion. Next meeting is on May 21st. That is going to be our second quarterly Chiefs meeting, or LEA leadership meetings. Please provide any questions or topics you may have and let us know which LEA you would like to meet with, so we can send an invitation out in advance. AC, as you all were just discussing, ACC updated data set to the PAB was sent on April 2nd, 2026, excuse me. And the last thing we have is the Police Accountability Program budget, which we're also discussing. It's kind of sort of to be reviewed with the Public Safety Committee on April 23rd. When we get that at 2:00 p.m., when we get that information, we will share it with you. We expect to have it maybe Friday afternoon or Monday morning. That concludes the staff report. Do you have any questions that I
Yes.
can answer?
Yeah. I know you said that option year for the PAB was the 26,284, and what was remaining for the option year? I think you said 17 something.
$13,715.50.
Okay. Got it. Okay,
I have a question.
yes.
As far as the budget is concerned, and Laura, I understand you may not know the answer to this. I'm curious as to, are we presenting something to the county executive to say this is where we want the PAB to be and the cost is going to be X? Or are they dictating, here's how much we're putting in the budget for police accountability?
I believe that we kind of addressed and answered that on the 16th. But we really didn't have, again, because of the emergency and the storm.
Right.
A lot of things were missed in that meeting, but I believe as a PAB, we discussed. And it's even in the report, in our annual report. I forget what section it's in right now at the top of my head. But it's in the 2025 report. Where we made a recommendation on, I even think it was that the position was Nancy something.
And
Yeah, Nancy 20 was the position that we talked about. We talked about what that capped out at, and we talked about in the report what amount that would need. So it is something that is already in the report. we had a chance to kind of go over it on the 16th. But now as far as the executive branch speaking to Siobhan and Laura, I don't know what, as employees, I don't know what that is. I just know as a PAB, what we already had in the report. So the request is made clear. in the report.
Okay.
Right. We work there. Thanks to Richard. Richard helped us with those iterations quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely did. Absolutely. So that's,
Okay, no, that's fine.
But it's definitely-
I'm not challenging anything, I just wanted to get an understanding.
Vice
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a different question, just another translation. Thank you, Laura, for that. I think, so I know I read through it, I found that to be acceptable. I made some notes, for, our executive director's review, and I don't know, Alicia, did you have a chance to read through that? I think you were trying to, or were going to, perhaps?
For
The-
the translated version,
Yes.
I did not. I can do that. I'm sorry. I can do that.
Okay, no
Thank-
worries. No, yeah, I think, yeah, when you get a chance,
I'll do that
Chad,
tomorrow. Mhm.
thank you. I'd like to get to a point where we can put that to a motion to Laura's suggestion here, to approve that once we have all members that are wanting to read through it, so that we can have that up and running for ideally by our next meeting, so that, with the new website, we could have that incorporated.
So let me ask you this, Vice, as a parliamentarian. Can we make that motion with a specific, that speaks specific to, the agreement of what? Because once Alicia reads it,
I think we can add it to the agenda, like our next agenda.
okay,
The next meeting is May 21st. I think we can make a motion by then that everyone would have read or, seen the report if there's an interest in, going through the Spanish version of that. And then making sure that we approve it so that it's uploaded immediately.
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Who did the
Okay.
translation? Just out of curiosity.
Say that again, Alicia?
Who did the translation?
I think that was a department of the county that specializes on that. I'll say this, I read through the report. I think Spanish can be slightly different
Yes.
depending on what country you're from. But the report, I think, maintains fidelity with what the English original version. The only suggestions I made were really not substantive, were about titles and that
Right.
sort of thing at the outset of the report, not like the actual report itself. So to me, I think the report is good to go.
Good to go.
So,
Right. Yeah, I will definitely read it and give a thumbs up by
Sure.
close of business tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I guess that ends the staff report.
Yes, that is the end of our staff report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't
Please, go ahead,
see
Kim.
any members of the public online anywhere.
There was someone from Montgomery County. By
Mm,
They're not here
Was
now.
it-
No, understood.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, okay, so, we're done with that. Let's, yeah, because the next action item, of course, is any other business or old business. Any old
I just got a
business?
message. I'm sorry that Greg is in Chicago. He's away traveling on business.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Sorry for that. Just
we must say point of order,
I'm sorry. I was just trying to,
Too late now. So any old business or other business, action item 9,
Okay,
in
we're
reference to the,
discussing,
in reference to the MCPD use of force.
Yeah.
I think it's here, there's on the list, Jamal Thomas. Let's see. And discussion on any meeting venues, summer 2026, okay,
I have a question.
yes.
And I seem to be often confused where we're going to meet. Is that what this 9B is about other meeting venues for summer 20. I didn't know that we're on the 6th floor, for example, today. It took me 2 or 3 floors to figure out where to land. Do we have a normal meeting, like I know in the
Yeah,
auditorium?
yeah,
And how will we know? I know council always tells me that it's
Well,
always posted.
usually, if we're not in the lobby, which you'll see and she'll have it
Sure,
posted there
yeah,
as well. But also on the elevators, on the elevator windows between the columns, lower, right lower and or email, but I
Alright.
know physically
That's,
what she does.
that's what I know to do.
It's on the agenda and it's also in the calendar invite.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can
Yeah.
tell you now that all the meetings this year, except for June, will be in the auditorium.
Okay.
The June meeting, the room was already booked, so be back on the 6th floor.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make sure I'm tracking on that one now.
The June
So
meeting.
all the meetings except June.
Yes,
Okay, June would be on the 6th floor, all the other ones.
June
would
and
be in-
April, 6th floor. Everything else is on the auditorium.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, got it.
In
Good
the
But I
auditorium.
know you usually send it out, I always see it, so. Okay, now, thank you for that, we kind of work backwards.
Unless the county executive has a meeting
Right.
and bumps us, that's the schedule for now.
That's what he did last time, and that's his
Okay.
authority
That's
and
right.
right to be as the QE, do what he wants, it's his building. Okay. I guess then we can move back to B,
Thank you.
Hey,
and, or A, I should say.
A.
Other business, the use of force, Jamal Thomas, and I think, member Williams had some.
yeah, I requested that we put this on the agenda. And again, as we were discussing with the ACC situation, this is not to second guess anything. This is not to take over and come to some determination. We're not trying this. But for me, I think it has come to a point where we should at least begin tracking these situations where you have someone who may have a mental health challenge and the interactions that they have with the police. So I requested that we put it on there so that we can discuss this just as a matter of how do we track this? What are we going to track? And, you know, how do we identify?
Those are good questions. I mean. If I'm just thinking about what we've done and where we are and where we're going as a board. One of the only ways that we could track something like this, unfortunately, is usually after the fact.
Mhm.
And after the fact, meaning once all of their investigations and internal investigations are done. And, or if it ever becomes, if a complaint comes from it. You know, if a citizen or of the county or a citizen anyway makes a complaint, that's the other way that we can track it because that complaint will eventually go to IA and IA will do their investigation and it will go to the ACC to do their review. That's the other way.
Okay.
I mean, outside of those two ways, there's no proactive way.
And I guess that's what I was getting at.
That's what I thought so.
Yeah,
But
so,
there's really no proactive way because
yeah,
how can we do that? We're not mandated to do that. We don't have the ability to do that.
and that's where I'm a little concerned. So for an example, if I happen to be, I would say reading the newspaper, but most people don't do that anymore. If I look online at the news and a reporter has posted a story to this effect, do I sit and wait until we say, well, once it goes through the regular channels and then comes to us, we can start to look in or track it? Or do we say based on whatever article was written, whatever was reported on television or whatever the case is, that we can start to do our tracking process at that point?
But the question would be, what are we tracking? Because, you know, a report is a report
Mm-hmm.
and what's being reported could still be under investigation,
Sure.
which makes it open.
Right.
Which we won't get anything anyway, because it's an open it's an open case, number one. Number two, we're not an Overwatch where we're jumping on every report that's out there because, you know, we get in a whole bunch of trouble that way, in my belief, because if it hasn't become a complaint, it says that the PAB addresses complaints that come in
Sure.
through a citizen, made by a citizen on law enforcement officers.
Mm-hmm.
That's when our doorbell is rung and then we answer the door.
Okay.
Because we actually got a complaint.
And I understand that, and I don't want this to be looked at as us being on a witch hunt. But at the same time, if the public is hearing this information and someone should raise the question, well, what about this PAB? What is it that they do?
Then to me, that falls on us again of making sure that we publicly outreach to make sure we make it clear of what we do. To me, that's what that says. When I hear that, that says that I think we need to continue to do more of better.
Okay.
More, not more of the same, but more better in making it clear what the PAB is here to do. That question still remains in a legitimate way. Because sometimes that question can come from the context or foundation of, you know, somebody just wants somebody to do something and they see Police Accountability Board and all of a sudden they choose.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you know, we did have an incident where a person came and they did it out loud, so I can say it out loud, where they were making a case for someone that they were representing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
we couldn't hear that because that's not in our bandwidth, that's not in our loop. I know it's difficult when we see that, but then we need to make it clear to the public, this is what we do. Again, if a complaint comes in about that incident, then the PAB now can go into action because there's actual official complaint. Period. And I know it's kind of hard, but you know, that's just how the mandate is. That's what the legislation says. Ms. Hudson?
Yeah, I think, Chuck, you know, yeah, and those are definitely good concerns, you know, but we as community members, we see things, yeah, and we're concerned. But yeah, the legislation, we are within our province. There are certain things we are by law, by state law, we're authorized by state law, and we are county empowered, authorized to act within our capacity. But you know, the bishop is correct. We can't just spring out there. I never would, or step out there and say, yes, we'll look into this. Yes, we'll make recommendations regarding this. You know, yeah, we have to follow our process. You know, the Policing Advisory Commission, they do other things. So they may be doing things like watching news and making recommendations based on what they see in the news. That's not what we do. We are more technically, I want to say, not constrained, but
Well, we've been dedicated, dedicated and committed to stay in this specific lane.
We're within a particular province.
Right.
Yeah.
To have a particular outcome that involves recommendations. Right. To policy changes based on trends that were determined from the analysis. And again, that in itself can be an introversial, I made up a word, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
That itself could be an indirect way of addressing some of those, you know, type of concerns. But to just leap out there, we just can't. And again, the answer to the question about what if people say, what is this PAB? Then if that question is still out there, after all this time, we need to continue to make it clear of who we are. Yeah, well, so which means that we may have to consider since the spring and summer is coming in, going back to maybe some other meetings being at a different place like we were a couple of years ago. We were meeting in this, this location, that location, that location. Maybe we need to go back and do 1 or 2 meetings like that in, this summer, as an outreach type of thing. Please, Richard.
Yes, you made a very good point. I believe it was in the January meeting about outreach and how we ought to establish some better mechanisms to reach out. And I think that that's exactly what we're talking about right now. I think that the public wants us to hold LEAs accountable, and officers, I should say, not LEAs. But I don't think that the public generally knows what that means. What is it that we do?
Yeah.
To deal with accountability, and I think that the more that we can get out, the more that we can, whether it's conducting our meetings in the context of some larger something, or whether it's going to church groups, community groups, whatever, I fully support that idea, and I will volunteer my time to help. And I'm sure others will. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna stand back. I will volunteer. I think that we need to reach out. I also think that we have to have a clear idea of what our responsibility is. I think we do. But I don't think the public does.
So if I may, here's where my concern. The family of Jamal Thompson may be distraught right now. They may be in grief. The last thing that they're thinking about is we need to file a complaint so that the PAB can track this. So where do we fit in if you multiply that by the number of situations, similar situations? Where do we fit in? Do we sit back to say, well, our hands are tied until we get a complaint?
Well, our hands aren't tied because we're not in that genre. That's not where we are. So our hands aren't tied. To me, to make reference to your hands being tied means that you're on the same playing field and you can't do nothing.
I said.
That's not even our field. With that is. So if that's not our field, then our hands aren't tied. So in other words, if you can't hold me to a home run and I have on football uniform because I'm playing football.
Okay.
Right? So that's the difference. The other thing is what the public doesn't know yet doesn't mean it's not happening. So a particular persons or people can be in an emotional state and based on that present condition, not know that something is happening because it hasn't been made known yet, doesn't mean it's not happening yet. Which is the reason why we have to make sure that we don't jump out too far over the edge before all things are in play and all things have settled and all things have come, to a full conclusion, because that's when we want to function, because we need actual evidence, we need conclusions to make up recommendations. That's what we're based on. We're not based on hopes and emotions, we're based on these are the outcomes of investigations, these are the outcomes of reviews, and based on that, this is what we see and this is what we recommend based on that. So that's the only thing that we can do. It's emotional. We as citizens, individuals, yes, we see things, we feel those things, but as a board, we have a responsibility to stay within, the legislation and the law.
Okay.
So. Vice Chair. No? Is that, Chuck, was it good? I know you want to discuss it, but I know we could.
It's not to my satisfaction, but you've explained what our position is.
Well, more specifically, what the legislation says.
Or what the legislation says.
So don't put that on me. I ain't
Forgive me.
Legislation.
What the legislation says. Okay.
So.
And we adhere to the legislation.
So that's that. Okay. Next meeting is May 21st, I think.
Next meeting is May 21st. It will be in the auditorium.
Is the lobby level, am I right?
It is the lobby level. for that is a chief meeting, so I need that information.
Yes. Parliamentarian, do we make a motion now for which LEA or? I was thinking Rockville.
If we're there, yeah, we could just make a recommendation or open the floor for that to be like a discussion item now.
Okay, before we leave, I opening the floor discussion now on who we want to our second quarterly meeting. Based on the first quarter, I think Rockville was very
Yes.
audible. And I think Rockville and
I know
Yeah.
based on the data, I saw some recurring issues in Rockville, Tacoma Park, and Gaithersburg.
I think it's good to me if we're gonna do two, if we wanna do two LEAs. I was on the lines of what you just said, Alicia, Rockville and Gaithersburg.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put it out to the board while we're here and um have any comment on it before we make it a motion. I was suggesting Rockville and Gaithersburg.
Yeah.
I move that we extend invitations to those two LEAs.
I'll second.
There's motion been made for Rockville and Gaithersburg for the second quarterly meeting. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other comments before we take it to a vote? None heard. All those in agreement with sending out invitation to Rockville and Gaithersburg LEAs for the May 21st second quarterly meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand if you're online, you can't say aye.
Aye.
Do the thumbs up, we gotta, all right, any nays? The ayes have it. Outstanding, okay? Yes,
Can I ask along those lines for clarification purposes, if I ask counsel? Based on the response that we received from Tacoma Park about some of the questions that we had that they felt was not in our bailiwick to ask. Would I be correct in my thoughts that based on the reports that we have, complaints that we have, that we would be in line asking questions or asking them to respond to what shows up in our reports?
okay, wait, I want to answer that because we answered that before, and I don't want us to keep circling back to this, yeah. So basically, all we're gonna do is extend the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in legislation or anything that says that we need to have specific questions or give notice of questions or anything like that for them to come. Because one, this is not a gotcha moment, this is not what we're doing, period. We've already addressed that, that's why we didn't do it in the first quarterly meeting.
Okay.
So we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the first quarterly meeting. Make the invitation, they accept, they come, we have our questions. Period. Every individual that ever comes to any public meeting, county or anywhere else, has the right to answer, has the right to refuse to answer a question or not answer. I think I said it both ways. They have a right to answer or not answer. That's their thing. Our mandate is, these are our questions based on the direction that we're trying to get to, based on the analysis and information that we get, period. And then we can have that dialogue with them like we had in the first quarterly meeting with the chief of NCPD. So.
If I may, Chair, thank you. Just as a reminder too, in that regard, that ahead of the meeting, it'd be good for everyone to review the annual report, which is broken down by LEA, specific for Rockville and Gaithersburg, but also making note of the staff's forwarding of the ACC data on outcomes, which was sent April 2nd. So that I think is also important for us to carry on to that meeting in case there are any specific questions that the board members might have on that. So we have data to provide or to, again, focus our questions around for that meeting.
So those, say those again, Vice Chair, so we get.
Yeah, the annual report, thank you, Chair. The annual report for, again, 2025, which breaks out the data by the LEA, as well as the latest updated data set from the staff on ACC outcomes, which on the agenda here, we have it sent to us on April 2nd. Again, Laura, that's all SharePoint, right? If I'm not mistaken. Well, we will double check that, but I believe that that's the case. Yeah, of course, if any questions, I think feel free to reach out to staff, or myself, the chair, but, again, just, a reminder that there's, updated information beyond 2025, the 2025 annual report that we should take into consideration for that meeting.
And again, I have to say that was well said and well, implemented, Vice Chair, because it has to be on us to know what's in our report, especially when there may be or may not be entities who haven't read the report and then are making inaccurate statements on what wasn't read. Because it was public, and I'll say it public, because there were things that in the first quarter of the meeting that was said that wasn't happening, but yet it was in the report.
That's right.
So let's just make that clear, and that's perfectly clear, because they made it that, so they brought it out publicly, so we're talking about it. They were saying, why wasn't this and why wasn't that? And our vice chair, and I believe even Member Hudson was able to say, well, look at page here, it's in the report, page this, section this. So, which to me, that means, all right, as vice chair just said, it's our responsibility to make sure that we read it, so when the meeting comes up with Gaithersburg and Rockville, we can always refer to the page if they happen to miss any of that. Good point, thank you, Vice Chair, great point. Okay, so we made a motion. It was voted on.
Yep.
And we're going to read the April 2nd, that was sent out from the staff, April 2nd, on the ACC's
Outcomes, yep.
outcomes, and also the, in our annual report, there's, Rockville and Gaithersburg,
Specific data.
specifics, data in there. All right, as a board, we'll make sure we do that so we can say yes.
Just to confirm what the vice chair said, it is available on SharePoint.
It is available on SharePoint. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. All right. Are there any alibis? Last minute, any other thoughts? Don't wanna skip anybody. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, we already know announcements, so there's no announcements, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we have a motion,
Second.
we have a second. Any other comments, final alibis, none heard? All those in favor with adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it, we are adjourned.
Hey, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Wait till we stop recording.
Yeah, please.